Hey there, educators and lifelong learners. Have you ever felt like you were losing the battle against classroom disruption? Today, we're diving deep into the trenches of classroom management with 10 battle-tested strategies to help you reclaim your sanity and create a thriving learning environment. So, buckle up, grab your metaphorical conductor's baton, and let's transform that classroom orchestra from chaotic noise into a beautiful symphony of learning. All right, folks, let's start with the bedrock of a well-managed classroom: clear expectations. Imagine this. You're a student on the first day of school and the teacher says, "All right, just do whatever." Chaos, right? This is why we need rules, guidelines, and a shared understanding of what's acceptable and what's not. Think of it like a game. You can't play effectively without knowing the rules. If students are constantly guessing what they can get away with, it creates an environment ripe for disruption. Clearly communicate your expectations for behavior, participation, and even things like how to enter and exit the classroom. Teacher 1, but here's the key. Don't just tell them, show them. Use real-life scenarios. For example, you can role-play different situations and discuss appropriate responses. This helps students internalize the expectations and understand how they apply in practical terms. And remember, consistency is key. Enforce the rules fairly and consistently. This creates a sense of predictability and security in the classroom, which can actually reduce anxiety and disruptive behavior. Okay, we've got our rules in place, but let's face it, nobody wants to spend their days in a classroom that feels like a prison cell. A positive learning environment is like the fertilizer for those seeds of knowledge we're trying to plant. It's about creating a space where students feel safe, respected, and motivated to learn. Start by creating a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere. Think bright colors, student work on display, and maybe even a cozy reading corner. Focus on your interactions with students. A little bit of positive reinforcement can work wonders. All right, let's talk about the beauty of routine. Imagine your life without a schedule, without any predictable patterns. Sounds chaotic, right? Well, for many students, especially those who thrive on structure, a lack of routine in the classroom can be a recipe for disaster. A consistent daily schedule provides a framework for learning and helps students know what to expect. It reduces uncertainty and anxiety, which can often manifest as disruptive behavior. Think of it like a roadmap that guides students through their day. Start by establishing a clear sequence of activities for each day. This might include time for morning work, whole group instruction, small group activities, independent practice, and of course some brain breaks sprinkled in for good measure. Visual aids like a posted schedule with pictures or symbols can be incredibly helpful, especially for younger learners or students with special needs. When students can visually see the flow of the day, it helps them stay on track and minimizes confusion. Remember, a consistent routine provides a sense of stability and security, which can free up students' mental energy to focus on what really matters: learning. Chapter 4. Engagement is key interactive lessons. Let's be honest, nobody likes to be talked at for hours on end, and let's be even more honest. Asking a teenager to sit still and focus for extended periods is like asking a squirrel to resist a nut buffet. It's just not in their nature.
This is where the magic of interactive lessons comes in. When students are actively engaged in the learning process, they're less likely to become bored, restless, and ultimately disruptive.
So, how do we do this? Well, ditch the traditional lecture format and embrace a variety of teaching methods. Think group projects, hands-on activities, educational games, and technology integration. The key is to appeal to different learning styles and keep students actively involved. Chapter 5. Catch them being good, positive reinforcement. Let's face it, we all respond better to positive reinforcement than to constant criticism. Think about it. Would you rather work for a boss who constantly points out your flaws, or one who acknowledges your efforts and celebrates your successes? The same principle applies in the classroom. Positive reinforcement is like a superpower that can transform your classroom management game. It's about focusing on the good, acknowledging desired behaviors and creating a positive feedback loop that encourages students to make positive choices. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring negative behaviors altogether, but it does mean shifting your focus from punishment to encouragement instead of just calling out students when they're misbehaving. Make a conscious effort to catch them being good. Praise their efforts, acknowledge their successes, and celebrate even the smallest victories. Chapter 6. Don't let it fester, addressing disruptions. Disruptions are bound to happen, even in well-managed classrooms. Addressing them can mean the difference between a minor blip and a meltdown.
Address disruptions immediately, but discreetly and respectfully. Extinguish a small fire before it turns into a raging inferno. The longer you let it fester, the more likely it is to escalate.
This doesn't mean stopping the lesson for every minor disruption. Sometimes the best way to address a minor disruption is to ignore it. We've talked about the importance of clear expectations, a positive learning environment, and consistent routines. But what happens when a student is struggling despite our best efforts? What happens when a student's behavior is consistently disruptive, making it difficult for them to learn and for others to focus? This is where the power of individualized attention comes in. Just like a good doctor tailors their treatment plan to each patient's unique needs, effective teachers recognize that a one-size-fits-all approach to classroom management simply doesn't work for every student. Some students might require additional support, accommodations, or even specialized interventions to address underlying behavioral or emotional challenges. This is where developing individual plans for troubled students can be a game changer. Start by carefully observing the students' behavior patterns. When are they most likely to act out? What are the triggers for their disruptive behavior? Are there any patterns or trends you can identify?
Let's face it, teachers can't do it all alone. We're superheroes, yes, but even superheroes need a sidekick or two. And when it comes to managing classroom behavior, parents are some of our most valuable allies. Think about it. Parents know their children best. They understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their triggers, and their motivations. By working together as a team, we can create a consistent and supportive environment that extends beyond the classroom walls.
Start by establishing open lines of communication with parents from the very beginning. This might involve regular newsletters, emails, or even phone calls to share updates on the student's progress and any concerns you might have. Parent-teacher conferences are also a valuable opportunity to discuss the student's behavior in more detail and to collaborate on strategies for improvement.
Listen to parents' perspectives, be open to their suggestions, and work together to develop a plan that everyone feels good about.
In the ever-evolving world of education, one thing remains constant: the need for continuous learning and growth. As teachers, we're lifelong learners, and that means constantly seeking out new strategies, refining our skills, and staying ahead of the curve. Professional development opportunities like workshops, conferences, and online courses provide invaluable resources for enhancing our classroom management skills. They offer a chance to learn from experts, share best practices with colleagues, and discover innovative approaches to creating a positive and productive learning environment. But professional development isn't just about acquiring new knowledge, it's also about reflecting on our own practices and identifying areas for growth. Take the time to analyze your own strengths and weaknesses as a classroom manager. What strategies are working well for you? What areas could use some improvement? Let's be honest, teaching is a demanding profession. We pour our hearts and souls into our work, often putting the needs of our students before our own. But here's the thing, we can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of our own well-being, physically, emotionally, and mentally, is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When we're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or burnt out, it's reflected in our interactions with students and our ability to manage the classroom effectively. So how do we prioritize self-care in the midst of the chaos of teaching? It starts with setting boundaries and making time for ourselves, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Remember, self-care is not selfish, it's essential. So there you have it, folks. 10 powerful strategies to transform your classroom from a chaotic battleground into a haven of learning. We talked about the importance of clear expectations, a positive and supportive environment, and the power of engaging interactive lessons. We explored the magic of positive reinforcement, the importance of addressing disruptions effectively, and the need for individualized attention when necessary. We also discussed the power of teamwork, emphasizing the importance of involving parents and seeking out professional development opportunities to continuously refine our skills. And finally, we stressed the absolute necessity of self-care for teachers because we can't pour from an empty cup. So go forth, embrace these strategies, and create a classroom where both you and your students can thrive. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update from the Pedagogy Project. And let us know in the comments which strategies you're excited to try out in your classroom. Thanks for watching, and happy teaching.